Oh, hey, how are you doing tonight, Mr. Leatherberry? It's the Cool
Oh,
Klepto Kid. How's everything going?
oh, pretty good, pretty good. And what about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for asking, sir. I'm doing okay. I just got off the phone though with a few folks, and they were telling me how Sank had spoken to them about me and said, not only does this guy really have his act together, I like David. And in the future, when he reaches out to people, I want people to remember that I'm saying this guy's my little brother. You know what I mean? Sank was a stand up guy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
he's beautiful people.
yeah, and so that just made me feel good. Uh, a lot of emotions with that situation with Sank, but I'm in good spirits. You seem to be in some good spirits. And we spoke, I did another Zoom meeting with Earl, and we spoke about May 11th, 1971, the Michael Douglas show.
Hmm.
So you guys were so popular. That was such a popular time for you guys. The aerosol autographers, May 2nd, the big photo shoot, the interview with Sandy. There's a few things that Earl and I spoke about as far as the dates, and we know that Sandy got that wrong because you guys definitely didn't start in 1969.
No.
By the beginning of 1967, you guys were up and running. So what I noticed as a researcher and a published author is that when I'm reading somebody's material and they make a statement like that and there's no quotation marks, I often wonder where they got the information from because they're not quoting someone. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if you're going to really do your due diligence and you're going to make a statement like that, I thought it should be in quotes, but that's okay. And what we're doing is we're here to verify all of these things. So it's not 1969, it's 1967. And just very briefly, can you tell folks when you started writing, do you remember anybody else on the walls besides the gangs? Well, of course, Kilroy and of course Bobby Beck, but any of your peers at that point when you guys start, what would you?
No. I
Right,
would say no.
right,
And we were just fooling around, if you will. It
right,
it didn't really blow up until we started hitting the newspapers and getting public appeal or
right,
applause. And everybody was trying to outdo everybody. Between us, our crew, everybody was trying to outdo everybody. But
right.
we stayed together and organized, I might add.
Uh-huh. Well, I'd at least say this. Maybe for the adults, it might have blown up. But what you guys started right away in 67, right away, North Philly, about 6 months later, Dr. Cool starts to emerge, but he doesn't go out of his neighborhood yet. But the kids were seeing what you were doing because very slowly but surely, by 69, we got a lot of writers. What I was saying was you guys definitely um made more noise when the newspaper articles came out. But right away, you guys started leading that trend. And leading up to those newspaper articles, everybody was falling into place, and writers were coming out of North Philly and other places. And you guys lead that charge.
Yes,
And
we were very popular in the school and just around the neighborhoods. We were very, very popular. Everybody was talking, especially when the magazine came out.
so, just for the record,
Hmm.
we're not going to talk too much because Earl and I are really handling this. But for the record, I need everybody to hear it. So, when you first began, you know that there were other cornbreads on the wall from gangs. Do
Hmm.
you right? You remember seeing cornbread on the wall from gangs, right?
Yes.
And when you start writing, though, it's not Daryl McCray. And when you started writing, did you see Daryl McCray as cornbread on the walls of Philadelphia at all? So So, but when you start, what you're saying is when you start, you do not see Daryl McRae as Cornbread on the walls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so here you're back with us now. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, and just make sure because I ask every single first wave writer, and they all say no. You know, they mentioned Kilroy, they mentioned Bobby Beck, of course, they mentioned the gangs, but nobody but Cornbread says that he inspired people. And I find that to be very interesting that I don't think that you could be the person to say who inspired people. I think other people have to tell you who inspired them. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly. And I can give you an example. Kool Kev, when I first met him, he approached me, and the first thing he said to me was, "Hey, man, I want to apologize for using your K." I said, "You don't owe me an apology." I said, I'm, I love the idea that you picked up on it and was able to write it similar to how I was writing it.
Yes,
So,
sir.
as far as inspiring, I inspired him.
There you go. There you go. Just like Titty inspired T-Bop.
Right.
And there's no, and again, there's just no mention of Cornbread. So this is what's very interesting. I'd just like to ask your take. So you guys were so popular after the aerosol autographers. Somehow you have some adults in your life now. There might be some kind of handler who gets you in touch with the Michael Douglas show, but you don't remember being in that elevator with an adult. You told me the other day. You remember being there by yourself with Chewy and Earl, correct?
Right. And while we were going up, James Brown stepped on the elevator, and it was a comical incident. Chewie leaned over and whispered something in his ear, and James Brown stepped back and said, "No." And
Right,
he
right,
got off the elevator, so I asked him, I said, "Chewie, what did you just ask him?"
right.
I asked him, "Did he have a quarter?" So this tells you how young we were, though.
Yes, yes. So
You
so
know,
in that
uh,
elevator, it's the three of you and James. Was there anybody with James, a handler or his
I
assistant?
believe so. I believe so. I vaguely remember. Yes, I'm almost positive it was somebody else with him
Right,
because
right.
he got off with some, and it might have been his bodyguard.
Yes, yes. So what I've come to find out by watching, so I have a few what's the word I'm looking for? My goodness. I have a few clips of James Brown performing on the Michael Douglas show,
Mhm.
but the May 11th, 1971, unfortunately, the video's been removed. But at the end of the Michael Douglas show, they say guests of the show stayed at the Warwick Hotel, WARWICK, and the show itself was actually filmed at a hotel. So I'm assuming that could have been the Warwick. Also, I want to say real quick,
Uh,
uh, I'm very excited about your invitation to go fishing once the season opens up. And hey, everybody, I'm going to be fishing with the Cool Klepto Kid. Um,
and hey, wait a minute, and you're going to catch some fish.
oh yes, yes. I also want to jump in that river. Okay, because you and
Well, see,
I,
now opening season is actually it's going to still be cold because it's in April.
yes, 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 yes.
But it's usually chilly for about an hour or so until the
Right,
sun comes up over the mountain. Once that sun comes over, everybody warm up. You can start peeling clothes off because we dress for the winter actually.
right, right.
And but
But
yeah,
I'm looking
we
forward to it definitely. And you and I, uh, again, like with Cool Earl and I,
yeah. I
just
took Earl fishing for his first time.
what's that? Oh
I
yeah,
took. Did he tell you about it? I took him fishing for his first time.
no, but you and I, we get going. we start talking about the Boy Scouts. We start talking about bears running through your property. I don't want people to think that that's all we talk about. That'd be really boring. You know what I mean? And
Right,
I got a
right.
chance to really get to know you. And by the way, I mentioned to Charmin 65 that I was going to be on Zoom with you tonight, and she said, I love the Klepto Kid. Please make sure you tell him hello. And I'll be
Okay.
looking forward to seeing him in the spring when we finally get this date for the conference and you guys come through and we really set the record straight. So yeah, Charmin definitely wanted to say hello. And she's
If you see her again, give her my regards as well.
yes, and she's definitely looking forward to hearing. So that's definitely a funny story about Chewy. What do you remember about the time when you were actually called out there now, out in front of the lights and the audience is there? What do you remember?
Um, Vague. That's vague. I remember writing my name on some kind of canvas there.
Right.
And we were questioned, but again, my memory to what they were asking us. I mean, we were starstruck. The idea that cameras are on you
Sure.
and people are, and kids, So I remember being terrified, but yet happy to be on TV because we were on TV.
Sure. Do you remember the performance by the Godfather of Soul, Mr.
No, we
Dynamite?
didn't. We didn't see his performance.
Oh, okay.
He was leaving when we were coming on.
I got you.
Yeah,
So Earl does remember though that he also performed at the Spectrum right around that time and that you guys went to see him live. Do you remember?
yes,
So you
yes,
do remember that?
yes. I saw him in North Carolina as well.
Okay. Yes, I got an opportunity to see him quite a few times.
Mhm.
And this is later on, obviously. And what a show, what a performer.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
no
mean?
doubt.
I couldn't believe when I was entering into, man, this must be junior high school when he's in the Rocky with the Living in America. And
Right,
and I was like, wow, the Godfather of Soul is still putting out hits. You know what
right,
I mean? And it was a
right.
I tell you though, after the mid '90s, music started to go downhill. That's for another interview, and that's could go on for hours. But as a child, I remember hearing this song and saying, "Okay, this is a hit. This is a hit." And the Godfather of Soul still doing it, and it was just it was very to be able to listen to musicians that my parents listened to and to know that they were still doing it was a special time in American music. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And so transitioning from that, because as we know, Earl and I had to clear up that nonsense about the movie Cornbread Earl and Me.
Mhm.
And I said, what a shame that this guy's trying to steal this history. But here we go, where you guys actually have you guys made it onto the television tube, and this is all truthful stuff. And I went through the Fat Albert cartoon that had Cool Roy, a graffiti writer who was writing all this stuff around the town in the Fat Albert show, and it's incredible that they took Cool Earl and mixed them with Kill Roy and come up with Cool Roy.
Roy.
I
Right.
just think that is so cool, man. And
Mhm.
so here we have this. We have this Fat Albert cartoon. We got the Michael Douglas show. You guys are in the photo shoot on the front cover of the Inquirer Inside Magazine Today Magazine. Inside the Sunday version of the Philadelphia Inquirer, you're on that front cover.
And we were still in school.
Right.
Because they came to the school. That's how they contacted us at school.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. See,
Yep.
this
They
is good stuff
contacted us.
coming out.
And we were a little paranoid about interviewing. I said, I don't know about this here.
Right, right.
And I spoke to a lawyer to find out, can I be arrested for this here if I start talking about who I am? And he said no.
You know what? It's very funny. They touch on that in the article where Earl and Chewy are first crowned. And of course, we know that you went along with that squad. We want to make sure we understand that that was the West Philly squad. And
Right.
in that article, the cops are talking about we have an idea of who Cool Earl is, excuse me, but it really doesn't matter because we have to catch him red handed.
Yep.
If
that's
we
what the
don't
lawyer
catch
told me.
him, yeah. If we don't catch him red-handed, it doesn't matter. He can walk up and down with a sign with his name on his back and all that, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Hmm.
So let's speak about something else, and it's the popularity. And now we always know there's, people like to tag on and there's followers, but what's really something else. And again, guys were shouted out on the radio. So we always mention the fact that we know Cornbread wrote on the walls, and we know he got popular from that one article. And this is right around the time after they had that felonious article when he's reported dead. And he was very popular on the radio as well as you guys were, and you were shouted out. But that was Georgie Woods. But let's
Yeah.
talk about another program where guys are coming out of the woodworks. So there's an imposter who's trying to be the kid. There's an imposter who's also Cool Earl, right? Did Cool Earl have an imposter?
Yes, Cool Earl, Kid, and Cornbread. It was three of them. Alpha Beta Bowl, the club they were from.
Okay, so now Alpha Beta Bold, you would consider that a social club, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Alpha Beta Bold, ABB,
And that's
and
what he used to write, Kid ABB. Now I would write Kid KOE, which was Club Odigma Experience.
right. And now in those days, um, that's the highest form of flattery. I mean, even today, when you come out and you want to try to, so you explained the story to me. Could you take a moment to tell folks? So it's the Love Man, Jimmy Bishop on
Right.
WDAS, right?
Yep, DASFM. Yeah. Well, what it was, we once we kept getting whiff of this and seeing their names writing, putting ABB on under it. We went up to the radio station and we spoke with Jimmy Bishop, and we explained to him our situation that we got some imposters
Mm,
running around spraying our names, claiming that they are the originals. And can
right.
we blast them? And he gave us the mic and allowed us to. And we did. We gave it to them. And by morning, they were laughing stocks. So they wanted to give out fist fights.
Okay, go into that. Let's really take a moment because you told me the two gangs, the street gangs
Yes.
that were involved in this. So how does that go down? Who mediates that? Who puts that together?
Well, they Alpha Beta Bowl came down to our neighborhood with a
Okay,
gang called Hoop Street backing them because I don't think they were from Hoop Street, the guys from Alpha Beta Bowl. And our neighborhood, there was a gang called June Street. And
right.
of course, they see a mob of guys coming down the neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
They came to me, what's going on there? And I said, oh, we can give out some fist fights or fair ones, we call them. And they said, okay. Then they hung around. And of course, right away, the kid, ABB, he wants to fight me. And I looked at him and I said, this would be a massacre because he just was too small built for me. And I knew that,
And you were nice with your hands.
oh, yes, yes. And so I actually told my brother, I said, Mike, go ahead and handle him. I said, he's too small for me. I would hurt this guy. But when I said that to my brother, Cornbread, the imposter, said, me and you, kid. And I said, okay, you and me.
So can
And,
I can I say something real quick? So Hoop
sure,
Street, that's HOOPES.
yes,
So Hoop
yes,
Street Gang brings these guys down here so that you can shoot the fair one. And June Street, June, that's the guys from your neighborhood. And they're
yes.
there to make sure that today they call it shooting a fade, where you
Uh,
got a one on one. And let
right.
me just tell you something, please, young folks, put the guns down because, okay, I was young and I was small and I was never knocking people out, right? Now, I'll even go as far as to say sometimes my mouth wrote a check that my
That you
physical
couldn't
frame could not. But with older guys, you know what I mean? I had older
right.
guys, and what they learned real quick was oh man, this guy, because and that shit didn't even phase him. And what my thing was is, you didn't want me to diss you because you're gonna end up with some name that sticks with you, and it's gonna make you a laughing stock. And I took a punch or two, but I had to grow into my mouth. In other
Right,
words,
right, right,
so here it is now. The cornbread, and again, young folks, please put the guns down, shoot the fade, take the one
right.
on one. That really shows what's a. It doesn't.
It's more manly that go
Oh my
face to
goodness.
face and head to head. Shooting a gun is all it takes is I forget how many pounds of pressure to squeeze the trigger.
And I think it's really good. This story comes up, and we can explain that there were imposters, they got dealt with, but no one left the earth that day.
Right,
Hmm.
right,
You
exactly.
know, and you
That,
and
and
you
that
lick
is
your
that is
wounds.
that's big time. That is meaningful. You're
Yes,
absolutely right.
yes,
Nobody left here.
yeah. You lick your wounds. See, in my neighborhood, older guys would push you together and say, "Shake hands now. It's over with. You
Right.
won. You lost. Shake hands. This is
Hmm.
not. We're not going to go on with this."
Right.
Now, of course, as I get a little older and crack starts to hit the neighborhood, some of all that went out the window, but that's for another story.
Yeah.
Crack killed a lot of people in my neighborhood. So here we have the Hoop Street Gang and June Street, and they're making sure you guys get your fair ones. So what happened when the Cornbread imposter stepped up? So Cornbread's not even there to defend his own name, which
Nope.
is quite interesting. So Ed, here you go, and you do him the justice. And
Well, it was quick work. I kind of stepped into him, and I was on my tippy toes swinging, and I hit him in his nose and fell back on my butt. And his boys was hollering, "Woo! Knock down, knock down!"
right,
And I said, "Yo, you better check your boy out over there." And
right.
he was slumped over, and his nose was gushing. I had broke his nose.
Okay, so he was taller than you.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes,
How
he
about
was.
his stoutness?
He wasn't real big, but nor was I. I was weighing about 128 pounds then, so I
Gotcha.
wasn't real big. I just hit like a mule.
Right. And we
Yeah.
just want folks to know we're not glorifying this. This is just a part of the history. So that the
Right, right.
imposters step up and they quickly get dealt with. And it's just amazing to know how Georgie Woods used to shout you guys out. Jimmy Bishop, hey, come on up, guys. The love man lets you come up and tell your side of things. And again, it got dealt with and everybody went home. All right, so you got a broken nose. The kid gave you a broken nose and you let your younger brother handle the kid imposter.
Right.
this is great stuff. And this is really great stuff. So once again, Alpha Beta Bold, these guys were another social club. It just didn't go right for them. And they end up licking their wounds. And that was the end of it, right?
Yes. Well, they should have knew that something was going to come out of this. I mean, how you going to go and claim that you're somebody else?
Right.
They should have knew that eventually something was going to come out. I guess they didn't know it was going to explode like that to come out
Right.
on the radio station.
And that and your little brother, I believe you told me his name was Mike. He was about 2 years younger than you.
Yes, yes,
Okay. And let's just let the folks know. So the Love Man, Jimmy Bishop, WDAS, that was an evening program on the
yes,
radio.
yes. Because I remember it was late, and when we left out of there, it was dark outside.
Okay. What and we're talking now early 70s. We're talking soul music. We're
Yes,
talking funk, soul.
and we walked up there. And this was
Mm.
this was a nice long walk because I don't think it was yeah, it was public transportation. I just didn't know it. I know we walked from 46th Street area all the
So
way
so
out.
do do you mean walking home?
We walked to
Okay.
DAS and back.
So where was WDAS headquarters?
I was stationed up around Belmont, and it was off of Belmont, and I can't remember the street where it turned off at. See, as you get to it, there's signs that's directing you to DAS.
Downtown Philly.
No,
Downtown.
no, this is not. This is out by Fairmont Park.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is more closer. There was a Philadelphia barracks where people went out to take their driving tests was, I want to say, about a block or so from DAS, and DAS is still there too. Matter of fact, now Channel 6, Channel 10, and Channel 3 are all up in that vicinity as well, because Channel 6 used to be on 46 and Market.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we climbed up on that building and wrote our names. It's a big wall up there, and as you're going into the tunnel, that wall is just, it was just calling
Right.
right me. So
And you know what? You guys start that. The daredevil hijinks. How high can you go? And that
right,
became a huge thing in both cities, but we're talking, and I mentioned New York, but in your city, Philadelphia, you guys start that. Total
yeah.
daredevil hijinks. You're gonna climb up the billboards, you're gonna lace the billboard with a bunch of tags, and uh that is credited to you guys.
Do you know, one time I went in the store and tried on a pair of shoes, and I said, "No, these is a little too small. Can you get me another pair?" The guy left those shoes, went in the back, and I wrote my name on the inside of the shoes, knowing that somebody's going to put these shoes on and
And
see my name.
see the cool klepto kid on the
Well, I
sole
only
or
wrote
inside.
kid. You
Oh, okay.
in those situations, you don't have enough time to
Sure.
write the full, so I would just shorten it out, because I can go either way. Just like writing on the side of a bus, instead of writing the whole Cool Klepto Kid, I
Sure.
would just shorten it to Kid. Or I either holler to Earl, "Get me," because Earl and I, we both wrote each other's names. I mean, we were best friends, no doubt.
Right.
We hung around every day and
Yes.
got the fool.
So, you know what? Let's talk about that a minute. Going back to when the aerosol autographers reached out to you. So, you and Earl went to the same school, correct?
Yes.
So, when they came to track you guys down, let the folks know, what school was this? Was this high school at this point? Yes.
Yes, West Philly, West Philadelphia High. And actually, it was a branch off, because during that period, West Philly High became so overcrowded that
Mm.
they branched some students off to houses, actual houses, and allotted so many teachers. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed this, because you got quality time from the teachers, because it was more structure. No
Smaller
doubt.
classrooms?
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes,
I definitely know about the overcrowding. When I first reached Jamaica High School in 1986, the New York Times put a story out about it. I mean, my homeroom actually was in the balcony seats of the auditorium. Talk
wow,
about overcrowding,
right, right.
and now Jamaica High School, we're talking about, man, it was like you're in a building with 3,800 kids.
Mhm.
That's a lot of kids in our high school. I don't know if West Philly High was that much, but it's obvious the same things were going on. Overcrowded classrooms. And so now, where exactly is West Philadelphia High School? So tell us about the neighborhood and the street. What neighborhood would that be called?
That was in a neutral neighborhood, and it was right near West Catholic. And now they've built the new West Philly High, and I think that's off of Sampson. I'm not sure. I've moved out of the city 40 years
Sure,
ago, so it's
sure.
difficult to. But West Philly, the original West Philly, was on 47th and off of 47th and Walnut, but the entrance was on 47th or 48th. Yeah, I think it
Now,
was 40. Yeah, 48th.
now, now that we got that story, we understand how the aerosol autographers came about, and we hear Sandy Padwee say that he had some contacts in the neighborhood, and that's how they managed to track you guys down. I see a name come up. Just a sidebar, real quick. Just a sidebar, real quick.
Yeah, that
You
was
were
the
the
VA.
Yeah, you were the one who was able
Go ahead.
to track this down for me. So, you were familiar with someone who wrote egg, EGG.
Yes, he's passed away. He
Now,
died.
yes, people would like to know, and you told me the story. Could you share that story with us about Egg and what happened?
Yeah, he we went to a dance in the neighborhood, and an older gentleman, or let me rephrase gentleman, because that's no gentleman to sell methadone, which is a medicine for heroin. He
Yes.
sold his medicine to three kids because they were 13, 14 years old. And the three of them drank it. Now,
Mm.
Egg drank half of it, and there were two others that drank quarters. And it takes, I guess, about a half an hour to an hour for this stuff to hit, or for you to feel it.
Yes.
And they were at the center and started drinking wine.
Mm. On
Now,
top
this
of it. On
right
top of it.
before, well,
Okay.
before this drug even took effect, he's getting doused with wine. I
Oh
mean,
boy.
and back then these guys would go up and throw this wine down and pass the bottle. Again, kids.
Coolie high
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Well, after the dance, he was, I mean, lit up. And we caught a bus up to a friend's house, and we were all sitting around playing gin rummy. But I can tell he wasn't feeling too good. He said, "Yo, man, I'm feeling kind of tired." He said, can I lay down on the couch?" And the guy whose house it was, he said, "Sure, go ahead." And he laid on the couch and went into a coma
Wow.
and never woke up.
So at one point in time, didn't you have to grab him or something? Were you holding him or something?
Yeah, well, before the police came, his heart was still beating, and I could
Mm.
feel it faint. And
Okay.
and I remember holding him, and I could feel his heart stop, and I was just destroyed. And I remember a cop coming in there and questioning me, and he grabs me and says, "Who gave him the drugs?" And pow, and slapped me in the face. And
Oh
I
man.
just I just looked up at him. I said, "Whatever you could have got from me, I have nothing else to say." And because
Right.
I didn't even care about the whooping. I mean, I fought men, so yeah, who
Right.
knocking me in the face, and I said nothing else, and he knew it.
The volume went out there.
Third, it's
Oh,
on
there you go.
airplane mode.
Okay, so
Is it back
now,
on?
yeah.
Okay.
So this is a person who I've been asked a lot about. EGGA. He had style. He had
Yeah.
sort of a little bit like you and Earl. He had a little bit of, I guess. And this is very interesting because when I ask you guys, you tell me you weren't inspired by the gangs at all. And I find that to be very interesting because I don't see any of the gangs. I do know they wrote in a certain style, but not the way you guys were writing.
Well,
So,
but see, you know what though, Dave? I, in the beginning, we just had simple handwriting,
yes. And
but
thank you for being,
because we continued writing, it
yes.
evolved.
Okay.
It,
Thank
it
you for
just
being honest about that because a lot of people tell the story and it seems like from the very first time you were writing, there was all this style.
no,
So,
no,
can you confirm that you were not inspired by the gang writing? Is
no.
that
Oh
so?
no, I wasn't inspired by no gangs. No, we were. Our thing was like a Zorro because we were kids and we were boosting stuff, and like when we hit the store, we would come outside and we would write our names, and
Right.
that was, I would say more so Zorro inspired me personally. I can't speak for nobody else.
Yes.
I can speak
Yes.
for myself. That's what
So,
inspired me.
I sent you that comic, the Zorro comic.
Uh-huh.
I gave Taki one as well. I have one, and I
And I
definitely,
appreciate it too.
what was that?
I appreciate the comic.
Oh, no problem. No problem. And it made me feel good to do it, And the comics from 1959,
I seen that.
it's
I seen
classic,
that.
And
Yeah.
Yes, Guy Williamson, right?
Yep, Guy Williamson. Yep. He was
Okay,
actually a professional fencer.
there you go. So now Earl mentioned it the other day. He said everybody watched Zorro, but Eddie loved Zorro.
Yes, I did.
Eddie loved Zorro. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wind this down now because it's about to let me know we're coming towards the end. So, Mr. Leatherberry, we're definitely gonna have another sitting another time. We had some you brought out some great information that no one's ever heard. Rest in
Mhm.
peace to Egg.
Yes.
That's
Yes, my brothers.
and
He
I
was
don't
younger too, because I think I might have been 15 and he was 14 when he died.
okay, so I don't want you to get cut off. So we're gonna end it now. Thank you so much for the time, Mr. Leatherberry. You are a
Yeah, you're
gentleman.
welcome.
And we're going to pick up again and we'll talk again soon. And hopefully, we'll get a few of these Zooms so that people can start to hear some of this hidden history.